Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a debris burn in Piscataquis County quickly escalated yesterday. We'll have the latest on that fire coming up.
Plus, Bangor police officers will now be assigned to monitor city parks and the Bangor Public Library. And
a young server at Mad Cats and Brewer saves the day during a customer's medical emergency. We'll have more on that as well. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well too.
We are doing well this morning.
We're getting right through the day. As far as the weather is concerned, it looks like the sunny days are behind us, at least for a day or so.
Unfortunately.
Boy, yesterday was fantastic.
It was.
Today is going to be on the cloudy side with some rain developing later on. Then tomorrow looks like a rainy day. And then it's looking okay once we head towards the weekend.
Well,
Got to
that's
get
good news.
through the next few days.
We'll turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Wednesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Rogan's Memorials. Give the gift of comfort through thoughtful planning with locations in Bangor, Bucksport, and Lincoln. Alrighty, here we go. This morning, we have some advisories posted. A small craft advisory will last until Thursday at around 8 p.m., so it has been extended. We also have some gale watches that will also last until around 8 p.m., and it's actually farther out towards sea. So again, the wave height staying a little more on the active side with an area low pressure that it is approaching. So for now, we do have some rain chances developing, even some heavy rainfall over in parts of Washington County this morning. This will continue to push in for a little bit throughout the day. We'll have some dry hours as well, but on and off rain chances today, but we'll have more rain chances on the way coming up. Let's zoom things out. So this is our first round on the way. More development off toward the west will be approaching coming up soon. Futurecast showing that opportunity for rain on the way today, although it's kind of underdoing it, but look off toward the west. More rain on the way as we head towards your Thursday. So your hourly forecast showing things for today. Again, clouds will have chances for rain. Temperatures warming up overall into the 40s and 50s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Well, first this morning, the State Fire Marshal's Office is investigating a fire that claimed the life of one person in Skowhegan. According to Skowhegan Fire and the Maine Department of Public Safety, crews were dispatched to 31 Way Street shortly after 5 p.m. on Tuesday for a structure fire with possible entrapment. As soon as they arrived, firefighters attempted a rescue, but were met with heavy fire conditions. Skowhegan Fire says that crews made every possible effort to rescue the victim trapped inside, but they were not successful. An adult was later located deceased inside the residence. The body will now be transported to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Maine State Fire Marshals are investigating that incident.
Well, meanwhile, crews responded to what started as a small debris fire in Piscataquis County that quickly got out of control. Officials say the burn that started it was not legally permitted. Our Callie Warren has more.
Several local crews responded to a fire in Williamsburg Township that started as someone burning debris outside of their home and ended in over an acre of wildlands being burned.
We had very high fire danger throughout the state today, so really a recipe for these sort of situations when folks are careless with fires outside.
In the area of 811 Williamsburg Road, multiple crews were busy Tuesday afternoon battling a destructive wildfire. No occupants of the residence were injured, but one firefighter was treated on scene for minor injuries. The fire started behind a mobile home as an unpermitted debris burn and then spread to the trailer. That home is now a total loss.
We had not only a wildland fire going, but we had numerous structures that were on fire at the same time, some outbuildings and some vehicles and campers. So
the incident was right in the area of the Williamsburg forest, so the scene was heavily wooded, requiring a Forest Service helicopter overhead, dropping off water, and several hours of extensive overhaul.
Hey, follow the open burning laws. Make sure that you're checking the fire danger. You know, this is a case if somebody had tried to get a permit, they wouldn't have been able to get a permit because the fire danger is so high.
The incident remains under investigation. In Williamsburg Township, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, state police are investigating the death of a Thomaston man. 64-year-old Daryl Sanborn was last seen alive on April 5th. Police have been looking for him since that time, but it wasn't until April 17th when they got a break in the case. That's when a person walking on a dirt road off the Wagner Bridge Road in Waldeboro discovered the body of an adult male. The medical examiner has since identified the remains as Daryl Sanborn. There's no word on the cause or manner of death, but officials say there's no danger to the public.
2 people are now charged with aggravated drug trafficking after the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency says they received information that out-of-state drug traffickers would be traveling here to Maine. The DEA says it was part of a months-long investigation into drug trafficking in the Swanville area. The agency says on Monday they received information that an alleged out-of-state trafficker was going to be arriving in Waterville on a Greyhound bus with a substantial amount of narcotics, and that 38-year-old Candy Dupre of Unity was going to be picking up that person and transporting him to the Midcoast area. According to the DEA, the male was picked up by Dupre, and the 2 were then stopped in Waterville by authorities. Agents searched the vehicle and located more than 137 grams of cocaine and more than 66 grams of heroin. They say Dupre also had an active warrant out for her arrest for a pending drug trafficking investigation. She and 45-year-old Claudia Valle of Boston were arrested on aggravated drug trafficking charges. They were taken to the Kennebec County Jail.
A chaotic scene at Next Generation Theater in Brewer yesterday after a car struck the building. According to Brewer police, the call came in around 10:45 a.m. of a reported vehicle versus building on Center Street. Police say that no one was hurt there. The driver had 1 passenger in the vehicle and drove into the front of the building. Police say it was believed to be a result of driver inexperience.
We got down there and came to find out it was minor. It was very minor. A little cosmetic damage to the building, and it was mostly caused by driver inexperience. But again, the accident's still under investigation. But nobody was hurt, and it appears to just be cosmetic damage.
The owner of the business says that they were in the process of opening when that crash occurred. They say the classes and shows happening this weekend will not be impacted.
A young Brewer restaurant server is being hailed as a hero this morning for performing quick life-saving measures on a customer who went into cardiac arrest. Our Grace Blanchard with that story.
Just something that you never ever would picture would happen, especially on a Sunday morning.
A routine shift at Mad Catz and Brewer took a terrifying turn when one of their regulars suffered a sudden medical emergency.
When I first saw it, I'm like, wait, what is that? And then I realized it was somebody on the floor.
And then a guy got down, took his pulse, and said he didn't have one. He wasn't breathing.
Owner Kathleen Markwitz says that's when her 17-year-old server, Abigail Sprague, put her CPR certification to use and jumped into action.
Abby's like, well, I'm certified. And we're like, get down here. And for 6 minutes, she and I did chest compressions and mouth to mouth.
For Sprague, a Brewer High School senior who has only been a server with Mad Cat for a little over a month, it was training she never imagined having to use.
It just happened. I don't know. I just started doing what I had to do in that moment and hope for the best, honestly.
And they continued those efforts until paramedics arrived on scene. EMTs got him stable enough to be transported to a local hospital where Markwitz says he will be having surgery for a pacemaker this week. The Mad Catz team credits Abby's brave action with saving the customer's life.
I just think I did what I had to do at that moment. I just knew that he had to be okay, so we did our best to try to keep him okay.
She didn't say, well, maybe, I don't know. No, she just went and did it. Yeah, they should be calling her a hero, really, truly, because she is.
In Brewer, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, in other news this morning, the Maine Public Utilities Commission has issued a notice that water service rates could be going up for the town of Skowhegan. The Maine Water Company has submitted a request for a rate increase for water and fire protection services. The proposed rate increase amounts to an almost 60% hike. A typical residential customer in Skowhegan could see an increase of about $18.92 per month in their bill. The new rates, if approved by the Commission, would go into effect in April of next year. The town says residents can take action. You can submit comments to the PUC and attend the public hearing, which will be held at Saco City Hall on May 6. And you can also attend that meeting virtually.
A Bangor police officer will now be assigned to monitor the city's parks. The move comes as city officials report an uptick in calls about what they describe as problematic or illegal behavior, following the closure of the city's warming and day shelters earlier this month. During Monday night's council meeting, Bangor City Manager Carolyn Lear said the added coverage could cost the city up to $680 per day. However, city officials say something needs to be done.
I think one of the challenges is that a lot of the behaviors that are getting reported to us, by the time an officer arrives, the person has left or is no longer doing that thing that was reported. And so we're hoping that this will be a way to respond a bit more quickly in the moment.
Lear says the new patrol is set to officially begin on Friday. However, when our reporter drove by Pierce Park next to the library on Tuesday afternoon, a police officer was already out there in front of the library.
Workers' Memorial Day is a nationally recognized day to remember those who have died on the job or as a result of it. Unfortunately, Maine is no stranger to such tragic occurrences. Yesterday, those workers were honored. The Maine Department of Labor and Maine Labor Group on Health held a remembrance ceremony on the north lawn of the State House for the Maine workers who died in 2025. Their names were read aloud. Governor Janet Mills read a proclamation, and she also remarked on the DOT employees working just feet from where she was speaking and the dangers that they face.
I'm standing there looking out to the roadway here, watching a guy put out these cones. And I'm thinking every car that goes by is potentially a death threat to these workers who are trying to keep us safe and who have to be concerned about their own safety every second. We do what we can, and we regret and we miss these individuals every day.
Mills said most workplace injuries or deaths are preventable, and she urged employers to review and strengthen workplace safety practices and to remind employees to speak up about workplace injuries. The time now is 8:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll explore how Maine's ranked choice voting is shaping the political landscape and campaigns.
But first, another look at that forecast. A cloudy day ahead today with rain developing later on. Highs around 51 degrees. A rainy night ahead with lows dropping down to the low 40s. And Friday looks rainy as well. Thursday, rather. I'm getting my days mixed up. It's not Friday yet.
Not yet.
Tomorrow, Thursday, will be rainy. Highs around 48. We'll be right back.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our stable lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Spring is here and the rebates are huge with Valley Home Services. With the quiet and efficient Fujitsu Airstage units, there's never been a better time to buy. And with Efficiency Maine rebates up to $9,500. Plus, Valley Home is offering an additional promotional discount of $750 per system until April 30th. Best of all, everyone qualifies for a rebate even if you've received one before. Spring into home comfort and incredible rebates with Valley Home Services.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals by... Wait,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is The Perfect Line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. Oh, this is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
In 2018, Maine made history, becoming the first state in the country to use ranked choice voting in a federal election. Since then, the system has become a fixture in Maine's primary elections, quietly reshaping how campaigns are run. Our Alex Schley spoke with a political analyst about how they say the system is shaping the state's evolving political landscape.
While the long-term implications of ranked choice voting in Maine remains to be seen, political analysts say the system's effects are reflected in how candidates campaign for the upcoming election.
Yes, you want people's vote, but you don't want to alienate a voter that supports another candidate so bad that they're going to rank you last, right? Because you want to be their second choice or their third choice.
In November 2016, Maine voters approved a referendum to use ranked choice voting, meaning voters now number their preferred candidates. According to the Department of Secretary of State's website, a candidate who earns more than 50% of first choice votes wins outright. If no one reaches that threshold, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and those ballots are redistributed based on their second choice. This process continues until a majority winner emerges. University of Maine political science chair Mark Brewer says that system is changing how candidates engage with both voters and each other ahead of the June 9th primary. He points to a Sierra Club Maine event last week, where gubernatorial candidates Shanna Bellows, Troy Jackson, and Hannah Pingree appeared together and received an unprecedented joint endorsement.
You see that dynamic because of ranked choice voting.
Pingree, who has run for office 7 times, says the system encourages a more constructive campaign environment.
It makes the election quite positive. I mean, we're asking for people's number 1 vote, but we would like to be number 2 as well. So we've had, I think, 17 forums and debates. They've been very positive.
Both Pingree and Brewer say, while it's too early to fully understand the system's long-term effects, it is already helping to shape a more collaborative and competitive 2026 election cycle.
I think it kind of raises the level of debate. At least that's what I've observed on the Democratic side.
You've got a bunch of well-qualified candidates. You've got candidates that differ from each other enough that people have real choices.
I'm Alex Schley reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, the Orono Public Library has just received a big boost towards their plans to expand the beloved facility. An anonymous donor has gifted the Orono Public Library Foundation $500,000. The library opened in 2009 and quickly became a central and much-loved fixture in the community. The foundation vowed to raise funds and expand the library in the future. That effort is now actively underway. With the newest gift, the total funds raised have reached roughly $8,065,000. The fundraising campaign goal is $8.6 million. The library must raise the remaining funds by the end of July this year to reach their goal.
I have a feeling they'll do it. They have a lot of support up there.
They're pretty close, too. Yeah. Well, the time now is 8:18. After the break, the British royals visited the White House and also attended the state dinner. We'll have more on that.
Plus, lobster traps are being repurposed and recycled in Gouldsboro. We'll tell you how as Good Morning Maine continues.
Got old metal and junk cars? Turn that clutter into cash at Daddy and Daughters. We make recycling easy, fast, and fair. From Skowhegan to Dover Foxcroft, from Troy to Lee, you can trust our certified scales and friendly service, offering top prices for junk vehicles in Maine. Whether you drop off or we pick up, Daddy and Daughters covers Central and Eastern Maine. Come see us at one of our 4 locations and watch your scrap pay off. Daddy and Daughters turn scrap into cash.
Meet the toughest team in the game, Bad Boy Mowers and Bad Boy Tractors. These powerhouses will do whatever it takes to win. Putting in the work with unrivaled engineering, game-changing features like heated seats and an Alpine entertainment system, plus durable implements and style that's in a league of its own. Bad Boy Mowers and Tractors. Power, performance, attitude.
John Brown first opened his own appliance store in Ellsworth in 1976. With his gift of storytelling, a strong work ethic, and a philosophy of putting others first, John and his wife and children saw the business prosper and grow. Today's 3rd and 4th generation of family and their entire team continue to follow the example set by their grandparents and parents. Brown Appliance and Mattress, High Street, Ellsworth, a family tradition of quality, value, and customer service that always puts you first.
Collectors, get ready! Maine Hobby Fest, hosted by Coastal Sports Collectibles, is coming Saturday, May 2nd from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Brewer Auditorium with over 60 vendors. You'll find sports cards, Pokemon, trading card games, collectibles, memorabilia, and more, all under one roof. Enter raffles from Maine Celtics box seats and Savannah Bananas tickets. Sign up for a live 3-case football break and meet former Red Sox pitcher Bill the Spaceman Lee signing autographs. Admission just $1. Don't miss Maine Hobby Fest, May 2nd at Brewer Auditorium, 318 Wilson Street. Learn more at coastalsportscollectibles.com.
Lobster traps that have outlived their usefulness are getting repurposed here in Maine thanks to a local nonprofit.
Our Jody Hersey with more.
There's a lot of noise coming from the end of Walters Road in Gouldsboro.
We're working alongside the fishing community. We want them to bring their end-of-life gear to facilities like we have here in Gouldsboro, and we want them to let us know where they've lost gear as well in the ocean, because we can work to get that out of the way.
Oceans Wide, a Maine nonprofit, has a program called Traps to Treasures that accepts old traps taking up space in people's yards. The nonprofit's co-founder says he also has divers that can recover lost gear and bring it to shore.
There's not a single fishing industry that doesn't inevitably lose some equipment over their time.
Once the traps are here, employees like Shaylin Russell help break them apart.
We just slowly pick at them, and then after a while it starts to really show what you're doing.
So we cut out the aluminum funnel hoops. Those go off for recycling. We cut off all the hard plastic corners and cleats, and those actually get sent for shredding and grinding to be turned into 3D printer filament. Wire cage itself ends up getting crushed and scrap steel.
Oceans Wide has successfully collected over 9,600 traps from fishermen this year alone on Matinicus Island, Vinyl Haven, and here in Gouldsboro.
And the minute we started this process, we had fishermen coming from all over letting us know where the gear is, how they can help, and eager to donate.
Reduce, reuse, and recycling, one Maine lobster trap at a time. In Gouldsboro, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
That's great. I've seen it when I've been down to Stonington before, and you go out to the town dump there and you find old lobster traps all the time. And this is great. It's putting them to use and finding a new use for them.
Finding, a different purpose for them as well.
Yeah.
Well, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Rogan's Memorials. Give the gift of comfort through thoughtful planning with locations in Bangor, Bucksport, and Lincoln. Alrighty, here we go. We have advisories posted, small craft advisories and gale watches, both up, and these will last until 8 p.m. as we head towards your Thursday along the coast with the small craft advisory right there and the gale watch farther out towards sea. Wave heights definitely active out there at around 9 feet. Look at that, definitely active. While farther out towards sea, definitely a mess at this moment in time. And 10 to 15 feet being observed farther out towards sea. So that area low pressure that's bringing rain into parts of Washington County, definitely stirring up the ocean this morning. Speaking of Washington County, we can see that rain pushing in this morning into parts of Washington County. So some locally heavy downpours are definitely possible. So we are going to be watching that for a little bit. And of course, we'll have some dry hours as well. But eventually, we are going to watch for more activity off toward the west that will bring in more rainfall, but we'll have to wait until Thursday for that to take place. So Futurecast moving forward, kind of underdoing the rainfall, at least for now. But as we do push forward, more rain tonight, a lot more rainfall as we head towards your Thursday. And some of that could be pretty decent too. This is definitely good news as we're still dealing with drought across the state, and we'll have to wait until at least Friday for the worst of it to back off. So here's where we currently stand. Between now and as we head towards the weekend, another inch to 2 inches of rain will be possible before this begins to back off. And again, to reference the current drought monitor, still dealing with moderate to severe drought across the state. A new drought monitor comes out tomorrow. Some areas that normally dry, this has been improving recently. We might see a backtrack a bit, but this latest round of rain will help things out. So for today, okay, low 50s, cloudy with rain showers, southeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overnight, okay, rain showers, areas of dense fog, lows in the low 40s, southeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tomorrow, we have upper 40s, rain likely, breezy out there, east wind at around 25 miles per hour. All right, let's check out your extended forecast. The rain continues for your Friday with highs in the mid-50s. Partly cloudy Saturday, a chance for rain showers, highs also in the mid-50s. The rain sticks around again Sunday with highs in the mid-50s.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
The Spring Fling event is on at Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Darlings Kia. Spring into a new Kia K4 for only $199 a month. Or cut through the rain and mud with a new all-wheel drive Kia Sorento. Lease for only $339 a month. Plus, every new Kia comes with our 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business. Spring Fling is in full swing at #1 Darlings Kia. The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. You'll do better at Darlings.
Hi, Rich Robichaud from J&J Auto Salvage. Yep, been here 40 years, retiring this year. Turning the reins over to Anthony and the boys. Hope to serve you for another 40 years. The next time you're thinking about saving money on your car, give us a call. We got fenders, doors, motors, transmissions, you name it, whatever it is, we have it. We're down on the Brewer Lake Road. Everything we sell carries a 90-day warranty. And don't forget, best attitude in the business.
I'm State Representative Valley Geiger. I wrote a bill to ensure rape kits are tracked, to protect victims and identify perpetrators. Every year, its passage was blocked. But then I told Graham Plattner, and the first thing he said was, Valley, how can I help get this bill passed? He campaigned on it. We spoke to hundreds of Mainers about it. He brought in an army of volunteers to call about it, and the bill will soon become law. It's easy to focus on your own campaign. It's what most politicians do, but it's not what Graham did, because it's not who Graham is.
I'm Graham Plattner, and I approve this message.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
The British royals at the White House, King Charles and President Trump exchanging praise and lighthearted jokes at last night's state dinner with guests that included tech billionaires, Supreme Court justices, and cabinet secretaries. But the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner had officials take a look at security measures as well. ABC's Lionel Moyes has the latest.
Whether you call it pomp and circumstance or glitz and glamour, there was plenty at the White House with the President and First Lady hosting King Charles and Queen Camilla for state dinner. President Trump starting off with a joke after saying the King's speech to Congress made him jealous.
He got the Democrats to stand. I've never been able to do that. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They liked him more than they've ever liked any Republican or Democrat, actually.
To the United States and the United Kingdom, God bless both our countries.
The King joking about Trump's ballroom project, comparing the destruction of the East Wing to the burning of the White House by the British in the War of 1812.
And I'm sorry to say that we British, of course, made our own small attempt at real estate redevelopment of the White House in 1814.
Earlier, Charles addressing Congress.
Mr. Speaker, Their Majesties King Charles III and Queen Camilla.
Highlighting how the Founding Fathers inherited a belief in the importance of holding powerful leaders in check.
Not least as the foundation of the principle that executive power is subject to checks and balances.
and at the state dinner expressing sympathies for Saturday's shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The royal couple will visit the 9/11 memorial here in New York today. The Secret Service says there's a multi-layered security plan in place, including a counter-assault team and even snipers. But agents admit outdoor events in New York are challenging.
You got the long-range threat that you got to deal with, every rooftop, every window. We have been planning for the worst-case scenario from day one.
This is King Charles' 20th visit to the U.S., and first as king, armored vehicles will be a part of that motorcade. The royals will also stop in Harlem today to meet with a nonprofit that provides free, locally grown fruits and veggies to the community. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Well, now to a clash of the tech titans. Elon Musk testifying in court against the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman. It's a trial that could change the course of the artificial intelligence industry. The world's richest man squaring off against one of the world's most powerful AI companies. Elon Musk taking the stand in a California courtroom at odds with OpenAI, a company that he helped build, now known for its ChatGPT and its CEO, Sam Altman. Musk accuses them of breaking their founding promise by shifting from a nonprofit to a business now valued at $852 billion. Musk is seeking billions of dollars in damages and the removal of Sam Altman from the OpenAI's board. Musk returns to the stand today, and Altman is also expected to testify during that trial.
Well, it's a case of deja vu. The former director of the FBI indicted once again. ABC's Sophie Flay with that story.
Well, they're back.
Former FBI Director James Comey defiant after being indicted by the Justice Department for the second time in 7 months.
This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago. And this won't be the end of it. But nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go.
A federal grand jury in North Carolina charging Comey with 2 felonies, claiming he knowingly and willfully made a threat to harm or take the life of President Trump. The indictment centers around this since-deleted Instagram post from Comey last May, showing the numbers 8647, written in seashells, with the caption, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." Supporters of the president quickly claimed it was a call to 86 or kill the 47th president.
Threatening the life of the President of the United States will never be tolerated by the Department of Justice.
Comey immediately deleted that post, writing, "I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down." Legal experts say this will be a hard case for the Justice Department to win, noting that prosecutors must prove Comey intended the shells as a threat, not just that others read it that way.
Of all the cases that have been brought and threatened against President Trump's enemies, this one may be the weakest.
Comey's first indictment by the Justice Department for allegedly making a false statement to Congress was thrown out on a technicality. No court date has been set on the new charges. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
Meanwhile, young Palestinian artists in Gaza staged an impromptu exhibit on Tuesday, seeking yet another way to show the world what has happened during the war and the fragile ceasefire. The row of paintings, like much of Gaza life itself, was displayed outdoors, open to the weather and curious stares. There was a painting of a dove, a bullet hole, a person's silhouette in a territory where the war between Israel and the militant Hamas group killed well over 70,000 people. While large-scale fighting has eased since the ceasefire took effect in October, Israeli forces have continued near-daily strikes and fire around military-held zones, killing over 800 Palestinians, according to the Gaza's health ministry. The ministry, part of the Hamas-led government, maintains detailed casualty records that are seen as generally reliable by UN agencies and independent experts, but it does not give a breakdown of civilians and militants. Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, we are going to learn about Parkinson's Awareness Month.
Yeah, it's a special guitar program that's giving Parkinson's patients a chance to live a little bit healthier and happier lives. We'll tell you all about it as Good Morning Maine continues.
Come home to the kitchen of your dreams. At Atlantic Designs, we redefine kitchen spaces, turning your dreams into reality. Our experienced designers ensure you get a stunning new kitchen while bringing function and style to every corner. Whether you're on a tight budget or ready to splurge, we've got the perfect plan for you. Your dream kitchen is closer than you think. So contact Atlantic Designs today and start the process. Your dream kitchen awaits with the kitchen people at Atlantic Designs.
We need to stop the trafficking of fentanyl. We've had serious issues. Our death rate climbed tremendously.
Susan Collins successfully fought to give law enforcement the critical tools they need to combat fentanyl traffickers.
And I don't know anybody else as sincere as Susan Collins is about keeping our young people in our communities safe. Thank you, Senator Collins, for delivering when it matters most.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. Today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. Boy, where did April go?
Right?
It's just
Flew
about
by.
done. Today is also National Zipper Day.
There are many things in life that we take for granted, and the humble zipper is certainly one of them. It's believed that Elias Howe may have invented the first zipper after he patented a device called the automatic continuous clothing closure. However, he never marketed it, and it didn't receive any recognition. Zippers are now used in many ways, and this is a day to reflect on how they play a huge role in our daily lives.
Thank goodness they came up with the word zipper for it all. Could you
Right,
imagine,
that was-
hey, your continuous automated thing is open.
Yeah, that's...
You know, it just wouldn't work that way.
It's too much.
So, all right, moving on to some more history. It was on this day back in 1813, the first U.S. patent for rubber was issued to J.F. Hummel of Philadelphia. It was originally used to waterproof clothing and for footwear. And later in the century, Charles Goodyear created the vulcanization process that allowed rubber to be used in countless ways, including in car tires. Rubber, of course, comes from the rubber tree, and when you get the sap, it's just kind of this gooey mess. So I think they just painted it on the clothing originally.
That makes sense.
And vulcanization deals with heat. I'm not going to give you the whole scientific thing, but
Craig knows all the facts.
it makes it so you use it in a number of different ways.
That's
anyway.
cool, though.
All right, moving on. In 1862, a Union naval force captured New Orleans during the Civil War, striking a major blow to the Confederacy. The North would eventually take control of the entire Mississippi River and drove a wedge through the South. And in 1945 on this date, during World War II, American soldiers liberated the Dachau concentration camp.
And in 1967, Aretha Franklin's song Respect became Billboard's Song of the Year. In 1992, a jury in California acquitted 4 Los Angeles police officers following the videotaped beating of motorist Rodney King. The verdicts were followed by 6 days of rioting, which destroyed hundreds of buildings and resulted in more than 60 deaths. In 1997, a worldwide treaty went into effect banning the use of chemical weapons and the destruction of existing chemical weapons. In 2004, the World War II monument opened up in Washington, D.C., and lastly, in 2011, Britain's Prince William and Kate Middleton were married at a ceremony in Westminster Abbey.
And they seem to be still going strong.
Yeah, they do.
They've got a couple of kiddos now.
They sure do.
Yeah, what a beautiful family.
Yes.
All right, for birthdays today, they include Uma Thurman, who is 56 years old. Actress Michelle Pfeiffer is 68. And country music icon Willie Nelson is 93 years old today. A lot of people that know me know that Willie Nelson is one of my all-time favorites.
Well, you saw him last summer, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen him a number of times over the years, and it's like getting together with an old friend every time he performs.
So fun. Yeah. Well, now let's turn things right back over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Wednesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Rogan's Memorials. Give the gift of comfort through thoughtful planning with locations in Bangor, Bucksport, and Lincoln. Alrighty, here we go. This morning, we have some advisories posted. A small craft advisory will last until Thursday at around 8 p.m., so it has been extended. We also have some gale watches that will also last until around 8 p.m., and it's actually farther out towards sea. So again, the wave height staying a little more on the active side with an area low pressure that it is approaching. So for now, we do have some rain chances developing, even some heavy rainfall over in parts of Washington County this morning. This will continue to push in for a little bit throughout the day. We'll have some dry hours as well, but on and off rain chances today, but we'll have more rain chances on the way coming up. Let's zoom things out. So this is our first round on the way. More development off toward the west will be approaching coming up soon. Futurecast showing that opportunity for rain on the way today, although it's kind of underdoing it, but look off toward the west. More rain on the way as we head towards your Thursday. So your hourly forecast showing things for today. Again, clouds will have chances for rain. Temperatures warming up overall into the 40s and 50s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. Still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports.
Don't go away.
When Paramount Paving wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Paramount Paving in Old Town provides expert paving, seal coating services to eastern and central Maine. Currently booking for the 2025 season. Call for a free estimate today.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter. This spring, invest in your nest with the County Federal Credit Union. Your home has grown in value, season after season. With the county's 10-10 Home Equity Line of Credit, you can borrow up to your credit limit over 10 years, with interest-only payments over those 10 years, 10-10. And then you can stop and smell the roses, soak up the sun, and invest in your nest. The 10-10 Home Equity Line of Credit, the County Federal Credit Union, countyfcu.org.
When Paramount Paving wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Paramount Paving in Old Town provides expert paving, seal coating services to eastern and central Maine. Currently booking for the 2025 season. Call for a free estimate today.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Welcome back in, folks. As I'm sure you know by now, Newport's Cooper Flagg has been named NBA Rookie of the Year. But in case you missed it, the Dallas Mavericks put out a video with some familiar faces congratulating Coop. But there's a story behind it. First, we'll show you the clip.
Congratulations, bud. I never doubted that you could do it. The growth and maturity that you have shown day in and day out through this process, through this grind, is just absolutely incredible. And I couldn't be any prouder.
Rookie of the Year, expected. So now we got more years to worry about. So you just can't let down now. Got to keep working even harder.
You know, it's been an amazing year. You've worked your butt off to get where you are. We're just so super proud of you. And just keep building on it. Keep your nose down and keep grinding.
Coop, I just want to congratulate you on Rookie of the Year. I know this means a lot to you. You were built for this. You're more than deserving. You got it. And now we got to focus on the next step. What's next? Let's get back to work.
Great video. And if you're like me, you just assume Kelly, Ralph, and Ace and Matt were given the information slightly in advance in order to get that video done. Well, it turns out they recorded it last summer.
Believe it or not, I did not.
Really?
And neither did Cooper. We all found out at the same time on TV. The social media video that went out through the Mavs, that was actually pre-recorded last summer.
Really?
It was one of the strangest interviews I've ever done, and as a very superstitious person, I was very reluctant to do it, just because I didn't want to go and, say something that wasn't actually happening yet.
Yeah.
And so the first couple takes of that interview didn't go well, because I wasn't prepared to say congratulations on Rookie of the Year before he's even started his rookie season.
I'm superstitious just like Matt, so I'm glad it worked out for everybody. We had a couple Game 5s on Tuesday night, and we'll start with the Celtics. C's looking to eliminate the 76ers in the Garden. Will it be that easy? We'll pick it up in the third. Celtics up 4 and looking to add on as Jordan Walsh steals it, throws it up to Brown, who finishes on the other end. But the fourth quarter was the story of this one. Paul George, he's going to pull up from the top of the key, and playoff P gives the 76ers the lead. Then it's going to be Tyrese Maxey. He slashes through the lane and finishes with the right. Joel Embiid is up next. He's going to go to work in the post, and he actually looks healthy for once here. He's going to give Neemias Queta just a little shimmy shake, and he's going to hit the fade right over him. Then it's going to be Maxey again as the 76ers put this one out of reach. 11 total points in the fourth quarter for the Boston Celtics as they fall 113-97. Game 6 will be in Philly on a Thursday night. We'll head to Buffalo now, where the Bruins are the ones fighting for their lives. Boston looking to force a Game 6 at the Garden on Friday, but the Sabres have other plans early on as a couple playoff bounces allow the Sabres to feed it over to Rasmus Dahlin, who opens the scoring in the first. But in the second, Elias Lindholm puts it in one heck of a shift. He's rewarded with a game-tying goal to even things up at 1. Into overtime we go. David Pastrnak is streaking down the ice with a man on his hip, and he's going to undress the goaltender here to win it in overtime and keep the Boston Bruins season alive. Game 6 is Friday at 7:30 back in Boston. Let's bring it back local and swing things over to Husson now, where a member of the Eagles softball team received national recognition this week. Eagles pitcher Anna Lang was named this week's Division III Pitcher of the Week by the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. This marks the first time in Husson softball history that a member of the team was selected for the award. The award is well-deserved. A long pitch, a total of 25 innings in 5 games for the Eagles, recording 57 strikeouts and only allowing 9 hits and 5 walks over that span. Anna says the award is great, but at this point in the season, that is not what she's focused on.
It's a good feeling, but it's not the end goal. So it's a good achievement to see, just a little bit of reassurance, but still coming in and working.
Eagles head coach Rick Roberts says this award was in the making for a long time, as Anna finally getting the recognition she deserves.
Well, I've known this kid since she's 8 years old, and she's put the time in. She works her butt off. I'm not surprised. She's really a team player. You know, she does this for her team. She doesn't do it for herself.
We'll head to the high school scene now for some local softball action. The Herman Hawks hosting the Old Town Coyotes. Hawks' first game of the season here in late April. They get off to a hot start when Becca Balmas' pitch is hit high up into the air and right back to Balmas for the out. Hawks at bat now. Kenzie Gallant bunts this one out and is able to make it to first base, and later in the first, a low pitch is going to go rogue as Elena Walker makes the move to home plate. It's 2-0 Hawks early on in this game, still in the first inning. Old Town's Haley Sorois keeps Herman off the board with not just 1, but 2 big strikeouts to close out the inning, leaving the game tied at 2. Second inning, she strikes out 3 straight, but in the third, they can't put anything on the board as Balmas also pitches a perfect frame. Herman goes on to win this one 3-2. Jam-packed sports block for you. That's all the time we have, though. We'll be right back after the break.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at EatonPaving.com.
There's a reason you see Gravely mowers on so many commercial landscaping trailers. Pros don't choose equipment by accident. They choose what holds up. To get the day-in, day-out performance you demand at home, step up to a Gravely. The Gravely Mow Like a Pro sales event is here. Save up to $250 on select Gravely zero-turn mowers. Mow like a pro with Gravely. Visit your local Gravely dealer today.
Only at Glenburn Landscape and Supply Company, where great backyards begin.
At Toyota, we believe longevity is the true measure of affordability. The longer something lasts, the further your money goes. So with Toyota being the longest lasting brand, your money goes the furthest. Now, during our longest lasting value event, you can get $3.99 for 72 on an affordable fuel-sipping all-wheel drive Camry hybrid with a captivating interior and 2 years no-cost maintenance. See your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Aggravated assault, cocaine possession, endangering a child. These are just some of the crimes committed by illegal immigrants in Maine. President Trump deported all these criminal aliens. As governor, Garrett Mason will fight alongside President Trump, standing tough on illegal immigration, supporting law enforcement, and putting the safety of Maine families first. Garrett Mason will deport dangerous criminals. He'll keep Maine families safe. We have strong leadership in Washington. It's time Maine did.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and we're meeting a guitar teacher in Michigan who's helping people with that disease.
Here's ABC's Danny New.
The lion sleeps tonight. F, B flat, F, and C.
This Parkinson's Awareness Month, we are meeting a guitar teacher in Michigan who accidentally invented a game changer for people with Parkinson's.
This is, something I never would have seen coming 5 years ago.
It was about 5 years ago that James Linger patented this contraption called the Strum Perfect.
Getting in this placement,
which could help stabilize his students' strumming motions. However, then, through what he believes was fate, James got a call about someone with Parkinson's who was looking to take guitar lessons. Soon, his invention's potential impact became clear.
For people who are just picking up the guitar or early stage Parkinson's disease, it just helps some good muscle memory, very similar to a golf swing trainer.
But making it easier to learn the guitar with Parkinson's was only the beginning. Over the next few years, James would begin teaching folks with Parkinson's like Brian here, who found that being able to play guitar could help alleviate symptoms.
The diagnosis started out with my handwriting, and now I'm using my fine finger movement, the finesse in my fingers, to get them active again and get them relearning things.
Next, James began collaborating with doctors like Dr. Naresh Punjabi at the University of Miami and started researching how playing guitar could help people with movement disorders.
We're not going to be able to reverse severe disease, or at least impact severe disease, but in the mild to moderate zone, that's where we could potentially change things and maybe even retard progression.
And now, half a decade after patenting his little contraption, James has just launched an occupational therapy program called TheraPlaying, featuring a 12-week curriculum for helping people strum through their diagnosis.
This has been the most fulfilling journey that I've been on.
So this is how Strum Perfect works. See, I got this strap here and this rest, so I can just kind of keep my hand there. And James said next he wants to expand to helping people with multiple sclerosis and stroke victims as well. In New York for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
What a great program.
It is. Well, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Rogan's Memorials. Give the gift of comfort through thoughtful planning with locations in Bangor, Bucksport, and Lincoln. Alrighty, here we go. We have advisories posted, small craft advisories and gale watches, both up, and these will last until 8 p.m. as we head towards your Thursday along the coast with the small craft advisory right there and the gale watch farther out towards sea. Wave heights definitely active out there at around 9 feet. Look at that, definitely active. While farther out towards sea, definitely a mess at this moment in time. And 10 to 15 feet being observed farther out towards sea. So that area low pressure that's bringing rain into parts of Washington County, definitely stirring up the ocean this morning. Speaking of Washington County, we can see that rain pushing in this morning into parts of Washington County. So some locally heavy downpours are definitely possible. so we are going to be watching that for a little bit. And of course, we'll have some dry hours as well. But eventually, we are going to watch for more activity off toward the west that will bring in more rainfall, but we'll have to wait until Thursday for that to take place. So Futurecast moving forward, kind of underdoing the rainfall, at least for now. But as we do push forward, more rain tonight, a lot more rainfall as we head towards your Thursday. And some of that could be pretty decent too. This is definitely good news as we're still dealing with drought across the state, and we'll have to wait until at least Friday for the worst of it to back off. So here's where we currently stand. Between now and as we head towards the weekend, another inch to 2 inches of rain will be possible before this begins to back off. And again, to reference the current drought monitor, still dealing with moderate to severe drought across the state. A new drought monitor comes out tomorrow. Some areas that normally dry, this has been improving recently. We might see a backtrack a bit, but this latest round of rain will help things out. So for today, okay, low 50s, cloudy with rain showers, southeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overnight, okay, rain showers, areas of dense fog, lows in the low 40s, southeast wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tomorrow, we have upper 40s, rain likely, breezy out there, east wind at around 25 miles per hour. All right, let's check out your extended forecast. The rain continues for your Friday with highs in the mid-50s. Partly cloudy Saturday, a chance for rain showers, highs also in the mid-50s. The rain sticks around again Sunday with highs in the mid-50s.
At China Walk on Broadway in Bangor, we're serving up your Chinese favorites. Our food is delicious, our staff is friendly, and our service is fast. Open Tuesday through Sunday, call ahead, order online, or just stop by. Enjoy our indoor dining for the full experience, or get takeout that the whole family will enjoy. We'll make sure your cravings are satisfied. China Walk on Broadway in Bangor, where tradition meets flavor.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
It's mowing season. And Bad Boy Mowers has the best lineup in the game. Built to win with more power, advanced engineering, and performance that never quits. Whether you're playing on this field or this field. So this mowing season, raise your game and join the team. Bad Boy, mow with an attitude.
Get Spectrum fiber-powered internet and 2 Spectrum mobile phone lines, each for just $30 a month, and save $1,000 on internet and mobile in your first year. Guaranteed. That's the Spectrum Savings Guarantee. Switch and save $1,000 on internet and mobile.
When you get a little shout-out at work, melt into your moment. Irresistibly smooth Lindor.
From me, the Lindt Master Chocolatier.
A Vermont farm owner was literally counting sheep after one of its ewes delivered a rare batch of lambs. The sheep gave birth to sextuplets, even though a recent checkup indicated that she was pregnant with twins. Ann Connor, who runs Clover and Bee Farm in Underhill, said that she suspected more than 2 lambs were on the way.
Because the mother previously had quadruplets, but this was a windfall. O'Connor says the sextuplets are doing great now, frolicking around all day and enjoying laying in a big heap together at night. She sort of formally named them like the Finnish names 1 through 6 because they're half Finn sheep as well.
Look at them, they're so cute.
Very cute. Meanwhile, an attempt to rescue a stranded humpback whale is picking up speed off Germany's Baltic coast. The whale has been trapped in shallow water for 4 weeks now. After weeks of intense public debate over how best to help the animal, rescuers are now taking action themselves. The whale was guided through a newly dredged channel onto a water-filled barge, which is normally used to transport ships heading to the North Sea. They plan to use the barge to bring the whale back to safety, and members of the public have named it Timmy, and the whole thing's being funded by 2 millionaires.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, over 100 Italian pastry chefs broke the Guinness World Record for the longest tiramisu in London on Sunday. Let's check it out. They were able to produce a dessert measuring about 1,440 feet, and this happened in the span of 2 days, only using fresh ingredients. There was 19,000 eggs and 128,000 biscuits in that cake, which took about 5 hours to assemble. And cheers, of course, erupted in the Chelsea Old Town Hall when that record was announced.
Let's hang in there for a second. You can see the finished product here.
Yeah, the time lapse is pretty cool to see.
And then they had to cut it all up, put it into individual boxes.
Yeah.
And then apparently, I don't know what they did with it. They served it to people, obviously. But I'd like to try it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have left, everyone.
Have a great day, folks.
Today on 25 Words or Less, he's here proving that with enough hard work and determination, it doesn't matter if you're talentless, hard to work with, and stink of gin. Meredith's words, not mine. It's Dan Bukatinsky.